Great. Well, we have a strong number already joining us today, and I'm sure we'll have a few others log on, but we do want to be mindful of the time that we have. We have about an hour to be able to spend together. So I'll get us all started, and we'll have some opportunities to learn from each other throughout the course of today. First off, welcome to our session today about the Global Columbia Collaboratory. This is a pilot for the summer of 2020. We are delighted and pleased for this session as we embark on this new and engaging and innovative opportunity. My name is Jill Berea, and I will serve, I would say, as the moderator for the course of the session. Before we get started, though, I thought it would be just nice to get a better sense. We have a really strong number of people on here to get a better sense of where people are located. So if you're interested and able and want to share in the Q&A section, maybe your current city, if applicable, your current state, if not just your country. So city and country would be great. State if you wish to do so. You can put that in the Q&A and we'll see a flutter of different updates that I'll be able to share. We've got people based out of New York, I can see, out of Norwalk, Connecticut, people all the way over in Vancouver, San Francisco, Toronto, Rochester, Singapore, got somebody in Wyoming, Mumbai, India, different parts of the United States, up in Vermont, down San Francisco, New Jersey. Johannesburg, it looks like we've got somebody on campus. So we've got a strong global reach today, which is really exciting to see. And this is really our goal and intention for the Collaboratory. So it's good to see that we've got so many people already represented. A few housekeeping notes today. The webinar is being recorded, as you can see, and that's for an opportunity to have people watch this asynchronously. So everyone is currently muted and there is no video. So if you've been taking classes, this is a different format of Zoom. It's new for us as well, so we appreciate your patience with us. So we can't see you and we can't hear you, but you are welcome to at any point put questions in the Q&A section at the bottom, I believe that you have available to you, and we will answer questions towards the end of the session. We're going to leave time for that. I believe you can also ask a question anonymously if you so choose, or you can include your name, whatever you wish. And also there will be a transcript available upon request at the end of the session. So if you're at all interested in obtaining a transcript of the session to align with the comments shared today, please do not hesitate to reach out to us at either uge@columbia.edu or globalcollab@columbia.edu. That email address is listed on our website. So next, Scott, if you don't mind switching to the next slide, I thought I would share to start off just a brief quote that Dean Valentini provided to all of our students towards the end of the semester, which I think really helps share a little bit more about the Collaboratory. So as you could see on the screen, using your summer to engage in the thinking, reflection, and imagination that this pandemic requires is a worthy endeavor. One that provides the opportunity to exercise classroom knowledge in the context of real-world problems. It is also an invitation to step outside of one's own problems, conditions, and worries, and envision ways to contribute to the well-being of others. As you can see, he really set the stage for what we're going to be sharing a little bit more today with you. We underline parts of this text simply because it's bringing together a lot of the key ideas related to the Global Columbia Collaboratory. The Global Columbia Collaboratory, which we'll learn a little bit more about here in a few minutes, was created out of conversations with people throughout Columbia College and beyond, well beyond the Columbia gates with our global network. And it's an opportunity to help and support and impact our local and global communities. The Global Columbia Collaboratory is centered around three basic components, and we'll be able to share those in more detail later today. So next, Scott, if you'd like to switch to the next slide, I'd like to introduce our speakers today. We have first off Dean Shannon Marquez. She's the Dean of the Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement, and she's going to provide the overview of the Collaboratory itself. I would like to coin her as the visionary of the session, or of the experience, and has really been leading the way in working with our global network and partners around campus. And then we also have Scott Carpenter, who is our Associate Dean in the Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement, and he has been working in global education at Columbia for more than 15 years. So with that, I will hand it off to Shannon, who will share a bit more about the overall collaboratory experience.
Well, welcome. I'm really excited to see so many of you, and it was really interesting to see where we are all located. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to today's session. I'm pleased that you can join us today to talk about something new and exciting that the Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement is launching this summer as a pilot, but it will also continue on a larger scale in the next academic year. The Global Columbia Collaboratory is an exciting new initiative for the entire Columbia community. It gives students the chance to have a global learning opportunity that brings a vast global network together in collective endeavors. And it's also leveraging a virtual exchange platform for deep interactive sharing and collaboration among us. We will all learn from each other. Now, in the education abroad community, this has long been embraced, these types of programs, to engage students in global learning through collaborative online programs. With the COVID-19 pandemic impeding travel worldwide, reducing mobility, it makes this summer a perfect opportunity for the Office of Undergraduate Global Engagement, the center, to launch this adventure in global learning so that you can engage without even leaving home, that we can share and collaborate in this way. So let me touch on a few key ideas about what global learning is. You might know that my Columbia College journey and the framework highlights global awareness as a key competency for students to develop during their time at Columbia and beyond. UGE is charged with helping students to develop their global learning competencies. Much of what students derive from working with others cross-culturally involves sets of skills and competencies that go beyond the classroom. Students confront and adapt to new perspectives and learn how to be flexible to challenge their worldview. They also learn more about global systems and their own place within it. And finally, global learning involves students taking stock on how they have an impact on the world. And this is an important time to do so. So many of these skills are resonant with the challenges of today. And that's why these global learning components all are born out and will be really demonstrated in this summer pilot. So moving on to really talking about the collaboratory, the collaboratory vision, the theme this summer is going to focus on the COVID-19 pandemic itself. You will hear from faculty and experts drawn from the vast Columbia Global Network and NGOs and partners around the world about the implications the pandemic has had for people and systems around the globe. You will have a platform to reflect on the ways the pandemic has been affecting your local communities in many ways. And this is also your chance to document this part of living history and learn from one another in all of the places you live. So whether you're in Indiana or Istanbul, the opportunity to share and learn from one another through this common experience. You also have the chance to design and collaborate on projects and ideas that can make a difference in the world, locally and globally. And this is the ideation and collaboration phase of the collaboratory, where the program earns the term collaboratory as part of its name. And we build a space where people explore collaborative innovations and how to make an impact in the world. So we've designed this experience to be multimedia and interactive. It will have limited synchronous components, meaning meeting in person at a specific time. And it's only some Zoom activities. I know that, we've been really exhausted with the use of Zoom. You'll be invited to reflect individually and in groups in your own ways to express yourself and your own time through an interactive interface. Now, you may have followed our social media campaign over the past few weeks, where the Global Columbia Collaboratory, taglines have appeared: reflect, ideate, collaborate. Those are the key ideas driving the Global Columbia Collaboratory. Now more than ever, our strength lies in the diversity of our global Columbia community. And we know this new program will be a rewarding way for you to tap into that strength and contribute your perspectives. We hope you will join us on this exciting journey this summer. Now, Scott will talk more about the setup and the details of the Collaboratory and what is in store for you this summer if you decide to participate. He'll also talk through the timeline and the application process. Thank you again, and it's so exciting to see all of you.
Thanks so much, Shannon. I'm really excited to talk with you today about the components of this pilot Global Columbia Collaboratory and how all this will come together. We'll start with the main components. There are three main components of the Collaboratory. There are global seminars, a reflection period, ideation and collaboration, and then that'll be followed by a project phase. So the global seminars are developed in conjunction with Columbia Global Centers. These seminars will be open to the public, and they're your chance to learn from faculty, experts, and local leaders all around the world. And I'll delve into some of those topics in just a little bit. Panelists and other participants will be drawn from the vast global network that Columbia enjoys. The seminars will be informative, and they're to set the tone about what you could learn about in these broad areas related to the pandemic in a variety of different global contexts. This part is in Zoom, but it's coming from various time zones, and they'll be recorded, so those can be everyone can be interacting asynchronously. The next component is reflection. After each global seminar, you'll have about a week or so to engage in active reflection with other GCC participants. What did you learn from the global seminar? How are the topics discussed in the seminar playing out in your own communities? This is where you'll be invited to upload photos, videos, essays, any kind of document and artifact that illustrate how the broad theme related to the pandemic and discussed in the global seminar are looking in your community. You'll have the chance to see what people around the world are thinking and feeling as you contribute to this piece of living history. We expect you to use your cell phones and creativity here. This is not just another Zoom session, as Dean Marquez mentioned. Then you'll move on to the ideation and collaboration phase. This is your chance to review, reflect on the information in the seminars and reflection, and decide how you might consider having an impact. What ideas and topics does this bring up for you in terms of how you might think about making a difference in the world and bringing your ideas and creativity to have an impact on what's going on in the world. Out of this collaboratory project, this is really the heart of the collaboratory, strong ideas will emerge. In small groups, you will form small groups and can elaborate concept notes, which are short proposals that then can be recognized by a faculty advisory committee for recognition and for funding to bring your projects and ideas to reality in the month of August. So that's the concept to action phase, where select projects will be funded and recognized to further actualize an idea throughout the month of August. This slide shows a little bit of the graphic of how this kind of all the components come together. So you could see that in a seminar will take place. It'll be followed by a reflection period. And then in conjunction and ideation sessions will emerge. This is where small groups can form. And students in their groups will be able to submit concept notes or small proposals at any point during the iterations that go forward through the months of June and July. At the end of June, there'll be a period by which any proposals will need to be submitted for students that elect to. I should mention the seminar, reflection, and ideation are the components that all students will participate in. And some students may join the small groups to actually propose projects and ideas in a collaborative stage. Those would be due by the end of July. And in the month of August, selected projects will be able to be funded and have an action phase in the month of August. You can see some of the examples of what these kind of projects can look like. And this is just a small smattering of examples. This could take the form of essays, performances, visual media, art installations. It could be a technical product or an app. It could be a call to action. It could be an awareness campaign, a short film, a policy proposal, communication and marketing campaign. Really, the sky's the limit, and this is where the creativity coming out of the ideation will really take place. So I'm going to dive into each component a little bit, starting with the global seminars. So the global seminars, as I mentioned, are focused on broad areas that relate this summer to the pandemic. In the pilot year, this will be on the pandemic. In future iterations in the fall and through the next academic year, the topics will expand, but they'll all be underpinned by the UN Sustainable Development Goals as background. The goals of the UN Sustainable Development Goals are to help solve some of the major global challenges of our time and improve conditions by fostering collaboration and partnership, strengthening capacity, and exchanging information. You can see listed here just some of the topics that the global seminars will touch on this summer. Just to dive a little bit more into the reflection phase, which comes after the global seminars, this is the place where students will be able to really contribute an understanding of your community and consider how the global seminars are strengthening your knowledge base. You'll also have the chance to gain new perspectives from your peers by seeing and hearing what others in our vast global network are perceiving about and learning from in the global seminars. These reflections can take a variety of forms, from audio, video, writing, digital storytelling, performance, creative pieces. This is really where you can flex your creative muscles. And then the ideation and collaboration phase, moving on from there, is really where an open-ended idea about what ideation. We really wanted to keep this portion open-ended. So this is different. Students may interact with the collaboration and ideation as unidirectional toward a design project. But other students might be more interested in exploring ideas together. It's meant to be open-ended, generative, and collaborative. So this is where we think that students may have preset ideas that they want to bring in and learn more from the global centers and take and run with their ideas, gathering others with them. Other students might be inspired along the way to discover through the global seminars, through their own reflections and those of their other compatriots and students around the world, that ideas can then form. So this is very much an iterative process throughout the first portion of the program through June and July. Going a little bit further as just a handful of examples of what some students might put together by the end of July relate to some collaborations that may find themselves being funded and recognized moving forward into the month of August. These are my ideas and those of our colleagues as we've started to put these things together. Mobile apps for managing social distances in stores and business, collected essays on ethical trade-offs, philosophical ideas, economic analysis of supply chain, policy proposals on criminal justice reform related to public health, awareness campaign on the disparate impact of COVID-19 on communities of color, art installations, collections of short stories and poetry, technical designs for more efficient face coverings and other PPE. Insert your own idea here. And if you don't have one, we think that through the seminars, reflections, you may find yourself inspired to collaborate in these ways. Let me go through a little bit of the timeline. So here we are in very early June. We'll go into the application a little bit more, but it is due on June 8th, that's next week. There'll be an orientation week in the week of the 15th. And then throughout June and July, participants will attend 3 theme-based global seminars. They'll reflect on the key learnings from the global seminars and begin to form a group to consider what kind of opportunities they may want to take on in a more collaborative phase. Then those students that in their groups submit concept notes and proposals, some students will be recognized for and funded to continue collaborating and creating ideas. They'll have through the month of August to actually execute those ideas and have something at least to be completed, some sense of a project that can have some final piece to be presented to the community at the end of the summer in a kind of a symposium in an online format. We expect that some projects may actually even be funded to continue into the next academic year, but there will at least be a check-in point on all of the projects that are coming to fruition by the end of August. Just to dive in a little bit into the funding, all participants will have access to a resource fund of $300. This will enable any kind of participation that you might need for the global seminars and reflection. Again, those being the most required pieces in June and July. This can go toward SIM cards, towards connectivity that you might have in the regions and places that you are. Might go towards some of the multimedia needs you might have for your reflection pieces. So that's a flat amount that's given to all of the participants. For students that are going on into the month of August through the ideation and collaboration phase, students will have $200 per student for the next 4 weeks, basically, into the month of August to continue to support those material needs that you might have. Those are separate from the project funding. Project funds for the actual projects in the collaboration phase will be $3,500 or more per project. Part of the funding, part of the concept notes and proposal will actually be a pitch for what the funding needs would be. And then at the end of the summer, as I mentioned, a global symposium of sorts where students are coming back together to present and display the progress that they've made on their projects. There will actually be cash prizes for select projects at the end of the summer. Just to walk through a little bit of the application, and some of you may have already interacted with it from the launch last week. Again, the deadline is June 8th. This is open to currently enrolled students of all 3 undergraduate colleges, Columbia College, SEAS, and GS. And as you look through the questions, you'll see a bit of the spirit of the collaboratory animating even the questions. We really want to convey that there are no right and wrong answers to the questions that we ask. We ask 2 quick questions, kind of about your general kind of interests. We ask you to upload a resume that kind of displays your background and your interests, and to elaborate those through a couple of questions. And then we ask you to share 1 reflective piece on how you're continuing to contribute to history right now. Kind of a foreshadowing of some of the reflection activities that you might engage in through the program. Those are the main points that I wanted to touch on here. We know that there'll be questions. So I believe Jill will be able to, has been scanning any of the questions that are coming in. So please, Jill, let's take questions from the 100 participants that we have.
Of course. I didn't know if you could see that number as well. So we have had a handful of questions and also continued updates as to where people are located, from Hong Kong to Cleveland, Ohio, to Santa Barbara, to Panama. So we've got a wide range of people from all over the world, which is really exciting to see. One question that I can help in addressing to start off with is, can incoming freshmen apply to this program? It's a wonderful question to help in answering that. So this summer is considered the pilot of the Collaboratory. At this stage, the summer term is for currently enrolled students. So you must have been enrolled in the past spring. So our incoming freshmen, your first opportunity to apply to the Collaboratory would be this coming fall. But I think this is a great opportunity today to learn a little bit more about the summer session, and knowing that this will be an opportunity for the semester to come. So keep your eyes out for that. And we will definitely be doing some marketing for our additional students once they enter Columbia. Another question, maybe I'll get started with, but please feel free, Scott or Shannon, to share a little bit more. So it's a 2-part question. Is the final objective, or end game, I like that, to come up with an initiative that will be addressed solely over the summer, or initiatives that are meant to be sustainable for years to come? It's a wonderful question. I can start, and if anyone wishes to add. So, I think the wonderful part about the Collaboratory is that there is no right or wrong answer, and that each experience for each student and then group of students is going to look a little bit different. In some instances, the end of the summer might, there might be more of a results-oriented outcome of a project, or there might be more of a process-oriented of this is our timeline for future, future time period to continue on with the project. So, something that is meant to be sustainable for years to come is a great way to think big. And I think this is an opportunity to do so if you so wish to. I guess, Scott and Shannon, any additional comments on that?
I'll just add that, in fact, the idea is that as next generation leaders, we are really engaging and thinking very creatively how to implement projects that will have an impact on the world. So sustainability is something that, is a plus, and of course for the awards maybe would even be considered. So the more the merrier. If there's a project that one is envisioning that either picks up on an initiative that's already been implemented in some type of way, and this will be a variation to that, or if it's something that needs to be sustained throughout and past the summer, either way, those are great fits for this opportunity. And I'll also reiterate that this is open to all undergraduate students across all colleges and schools at Columbia. So not just Columbia College, but also general studies and engineering.
Excellent. And just the second part of that question, just to answer quickly, can one focus on expounding upon current university recognized initiatives be a part of the collaboratory? Yes, I think building off of current ideas, initiatives that are being worked on campus and or off campus is definitely a great way to start thinking, or just starting from scratch with a new idea. Maybe Scott, just to kind of jump off of with different ideas in answering. So will we choose our groups or will they be assigned? Would you like to share a little bit more, Scott, about that?
Yeah, for sure. This will absolutely not be assigned. The idea really here is that students will be able to self-organize, come up with their own ideas. We expect different ideas to be able to kind of emerge from the reflection and ideation phases. And we'll be there to kind of help shepherd the groups together, but we'll have platforms that will really allow for this collaboration to happen. We do want the teams to be teams, meaning usually more than one person. And we really also are going to be encouraging students to work internationally and cross-culturally. Just remembering that this is really a vast global network. And in future iterations of the Collaboratory, we aim to bring in students from not just Columbia students, but students and thought leaders from around the world, even into the collaboration and reflection phases. Right now, we're limiting those pieces to just the Columbia students. You won't be assigned groups. We'll be there to lend a helping hand in some of the groups organizing together. It'll be also important to see that the groups may, an idea may strike you out of the first seminar and reflection phase, or it might not. It might be something that gathers a little bit of steam as the second and third stages go along. So that'll be different for each student. We expect some students will have some ideas coming in even to the Collaboratory. We've already seen a few applications where that's evident, but we also want to leave a lot of room for new students to come in, really take part of all of the components and really learn from one another, and then organize into these teams and projects.
Yeah, I think I'll piggyback on that because, so that means if you have a pre-existing project that you've already been thinking about, the idea that you would share within the Collaboratory and maybe garner interests of other students who have similar interests is something that would be advantageous. In addition, when we say all students, we mean all students. So that includes the dual degree BA students who may already not yet be at Columbia, but are enrolled already either in Europe, in France, or in Hong Kong, for example. So all students are eligible for this program, even if you haven't set foot for the Columbia part of your dual degree program.
That's a great question. And there's a handful of questions regarding the historical components and what do you mean by our contribution to history. So you will see that the collaboratory is an opportunity to work with one another and to learn with each other. There's also, you know, something to be said for this point in time and really reflecting on the value of making history. And you'll see one of the questions in the application is, how are you currently creating history and making history for our future generations to come? And so just being mindful, I would say it's more of just being mindful of the fact that your actions can really play a role in the future outlook of our society and both local and global communities. And so that's essentially what we mean by contributing to history. So just really be mindful of these small actions that we may be taking and then larger actions that we could be taking as groups and how we can effectively work together.
I'd like to tackle a few of the questions I see popping up here. The first one is just reiterating around how will the program help organize the groups and help us find other students interested in the same ideas. So we are accepting the students into Collaboratory as a cohort. So you will all be in this platform together, sharing ideas, reflecting together. We also then will have coaches, staff from UGE, who along the way will help support and facilitate sessions. And through this, we hope to help identify common areas of interest. I think students will begin to gravitate toward projects of interest. As was mentioned in the preliminary slides though, it is not a requirement that everyone work on the final projects. You may want to be supportive in a way by adding your thoughts and perspectives, but not necessarily hands-on being on a team. The last phase of the collaboratory, that project phase, is completely optional. So if you're interested in engaging on that, we will have an intentional way of matching people up based on the ideas that emerge, or if you have your own ideas, the collaboratory is a forum for you to be able to share that with your fellow students. The second question regarding the fact that the collaboratory is structured like a seminar lab, but I want to reiterate that it is a co-curricular experience. At this time, it's not for credit, but we do envision that many of the products and projects and activities that emerge from the ideation and collaboration phase may in fact go on to be developed as independent research projects or used for thesis work or what have you. And so we are partnering in this way with all of the global units, but also within the college to ensure that if there is an opportunity for you to convert that project into some sort of independent research project, you could get credit for that.
And I think also to just jump off of that, the third part, the group experience part and the project part at the end is optional. However, the three components together, the seminars and the reflection pieces, will play a role if you wish to take part in the project. So you would participate in the seminars and the reflection and then jump into the projects if you wish. There are questions regarding competitiveness and numbers of students. You know, we want to be mindful that our goal is not to make this a competitive experience for students. We do need to be mindful of opportunities that do reach a certain limit here on the campus, but we would say that this is definitely a pilot experience. So please feel free to submit an application, be excited and enthusiastic about the opportunity. And we look forward to working with as many of you as possible at this time. I would just think it's a great opportunity, especially given the summer time period. Any other questions that people seem to have off the top of their heads? Please feel free to write them into the Q&A. Give it one more minute, maybe.
I'll just throw out there, if anyone would like to rewind to any certain slides, I'd be happy to do that.
I see a question about the time commitment. And again, one of the things we're evaluating in the application phase really is your level of commitment. We want students to be engaged in this platform. And so participation in the global seminar, which we have scheduled 3 over the course of the summer pilot, plus the reflection phase, which will be a series of facilitated activities that would require that you answer the prompts or do the activity on your own and then share within the collaboratory. And then in the ideation and collaboration phase, there's quite a bit of time that you might spend with your colleagues, particularly as teams emerge. I can't say we can assign a time commitment per se, because it just really depends on your level of engagement beyond the seminars and reflections. But you do know we have a schedule around when the seminars would be delivered, and those reflection activities could probably take 1 to 3 hours for a specific seminar. Beyond that, in the ideation and collaboration phase, since this is really an opportunity for you to design and really discuss and share around how to develop a social impact project or any type of project that would emerge, there's really no time limit or minimum required. I can't really say that we can quantify that, but you do see in the timeline that was presented by Scott that you'll have a full month to work on those projects.
Excellent. I'm also seeing just comments regarding creation of informal interactions and the structures that there may or may not be, just given the challenges around more of the formality that we have found and we're reading about of Zoom and not being able to have more of those casual conversations. It's a great point, something that we've definitely been mulling over as a group. I would say first off, we look to you as future leaders to really think about what are ways in which you wish to interact. Our goal is to build community and in certain instances build these small teams to have you connect with fellow students around the campus to really make a difference. And so we challenge you and encourage you to think about what are ways in which you wish to connect with your fellow students to create that sense of community. We will also be very mindful of the fact that there's something to be said for having that informal dialogue. And so we will have a variety of different platforms that we'll be able to have all of you and engage and interact with. But we also encourage you to take this space as a way to build those connections, given the current virtual space that we're living in right now.
Maybe just add to that we are also envisioning as few, as I think mentioned, as few synchronous components as we can, because we intentionally want to leverage the fact that we're working with students from all around the world and not see that as any kind of hindrance, but actually as an opportunity. And so that speaks to, some of the commitments around the seminars are there, but actually the seminars are coming out of the global centers, which are worldwide in and of themselves, and they'll be recorded. But after that, the interactions around the reflections will be completely on students' own time, and we'll have developed the platforms for sharing those. And we won't limit those platforms. There'll be some other ways that we expect students to be able to connect with one another. And then, as is mentioned, in the project piece, there's really no limit to the ways that the teams can interact and find both time and space to interact virtually to bring projects to fruition.
So I see an interesting question in here talking about the development of a project and if there's expertise needed. So as we coach you through the experience, one of the reasons why we're partnered with both the Global Centers and Columbia World Projects, as well as we've actually reached out to faculty, we hope to be able to connect you, to be a connector with the resources you need to bring the project to fruition. So we envision students who need a certain expertise from the faculty, collectively taking the time to really reach out to individuals who may be, the 4,500 faculty among Columbia's faculty who may have that expertise and can provide some advice. Part of the process of coaching you through the collaboratory is helping you understand how to connect with others who may have those resources. The same goes true with the budget. We think of this as an incubator type exercise where during this month-long period, which is really not that long, you're able to bring your concept to a phase of being able to pitch it further and show some progress. For some, that may not be the final product. It could be just a prototype. And again, the advantage of us partnering with, say, a Columbia World Projects is promising projects then will be mentored into thinking about how to connect with larger resources, or even maybe making it in the pipeline to be developed further as a large scale project. So this is a great place to sort of get started and to get connected with the resources that may be needed to take the project further.
Just some quick questions. If you showed up late to the session today, just know that over the next few days, the recording of this session will be posted on the Collaboratory website. There is also not a benefit to applying any earlier than the June 8th deadline. So please feel free to take time with your application and just submit it by that time.
Also, each seminar, particularly in our pilot, will focus on a single topic. We've intentionally framed this summer's pilot around the multifaceted aspects of the pandemic. But it doesn't necessarily mean that your ideation and even how you begin to collaborate solely focuses on the pandemic, because we realize that particularly using the Sustainable Development Goals as a way to frame the thinking as well, there are many, many global challenges. So something that applies just for the pandemic may also apply in a broader context. And there are many examples of that. So our goal is to ensure that through these framing seminars, which help us really reflect and think very creatively about how these particular challenges are impacting our lives, you will be inspired to think even further and take a deeper dive. And that may even be broader or narrower. There's really no limitation on that. But for the seminars themselves, yes, they will be a single topic, and we are intentionally framing those topics around COVID-19 related issues, which could be very broad.
Other questions?
Another question about students who are working this summer. This is a co-curricular experience. So again, there's really not a specific time commitment. And particularly since much of the activities could be done asynchronously, we just expect a commitment from you to participate, particularly in the global seminars, which was mentioned, could be recorded and you can watch it later, and also in the reflection activities, which will be facilitated, but they will require you to do a little bit of work on your own to express yourself related to those reflection prompts. By all means, if you are working or even if you're taking classes this summer, it would be completely appropriate and you should be fine in terms of the workload.
Any others? These are wonderful questions, everyone. Thank you so much for being so engaged. We know it's a new idea, so we appreciate providing a better understanding.
So just
as a reminder,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I just saw again another question about accepting students for the summer. If you have yet to take classes, other than our dual degree students, if you have yet to take classes through Columbia, then we encourage you to apply for the fall 2020 cohort of students. All students participating this summer will have previously taken classes at Columbia, whether that be in the dual degree program or as current Columbia students on campus.
And to build on that, you don't need to be enrolled in summer courses to apply. That is not a requirement. We are excited to offer this pilot over the summer. I think what's really exciting too is that we anticipate a smaller cohort, although we haven't set a limit on that. Ideally then, when this is launched in the fall, the themes will be different every semester, and we expect to be engaged with a much wider audience, which may in fact include non-Columbia students as well, because you can appreciate the opportunity to share and reflect and collaborate across geographic boundaries, to also leverage different worldviews to really appreciate the diversity of thoughts, opinions, and ideas. So this is an important period of time where you'll have a chance to participate this summer in a very special cohort that's for our pilot and be part of helping us to launch this more broadly beginning in the fall.
We have a great question. This is currently open to Columbia College engineering NCs at this stage with the pilot experience. But we definitely take your questions and thoughts regarding interest in Barnard into consideration. Thank you. Great. Well, we hope that this was useful. I'm sorry, GS Engineering and Columbia College, if I misspoke there, the 3 undergraduate colleges. We hope that the session was is useful and helpful in better understanding the collaboratory experience. We look forward to receiving applications on June 8th. If you have any technical issues, any further questions, there is a general email address listed on our webpage for the Collaboratory, so we're more than happy to respond as needed. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Thank you for your time. I know it's late at night for some, very early for others, and really appreciate all of you taking the time and joining us today. I guess any final comments or words from Shannon or Scott at all?
Just a big encouragement and thanks for so many of you joining the session today. We're really so pleased to see this idea that we think is so exciting to bring global learning to these new innovative platforms and to connect people from around the world. It's what we do in UGE, and that usually involves people moving around the world. But in a sense, it's you, your ideas and collaborations really providing that energy of going around the world. And so we're just really excited to see this turnout, and we hope the applications will flow in, and then we'll really look forward to an exciting summer together to facilitate these discussions and collaboration. So thank you, and we look forward to the next steps together.
And I'll just piggyback on that and say, this is exciting for you, and I'd love for you to really think and reflect about how your engagement in this activity to make an impact on your own personal development. Because now more than ever, in our globally connected world, we can't have your global engagement activities be solely focused on travel. And we also know that particularly undergraduate students need to be empowered as leaders to deal with complexity, diversity, and change. And so this is going to be a great way to share and also at the same time collaborate on addressing complex global challenges, beginning with the pandemic, but also shifting to look at other issues facing the world today. So we welcome your engagement. Thanks so much for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing your applications.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.